Good afternoon. I am Mrs. I.H. AYUBA, and for this semester we will be focusing or will be taking the course Introduction to Comparative Counseling, which is GCE123. We have the following course outline to consider. There will be an introduction, the meaning of comparative counseling, the historical perspective, objectives to comparative counseling, objectives of comparative counseling, then the basic assumptions of comparative counseling, some concepts of multicultural counseling. We'll also be treating basis for comparative counseling in counselor education program and the African versus Western counseling practices. Then we conclude. As a way of introduction, comparative counseling is an approach to counseling and psychotherapy that involves the systematic comparison of various therapeutic methods and counseling techniques in order to determine their effectiveness in addressing psychological, emotional, and behavioral issues in human societies. So basically what we'll be doing in this course is to talk about how different and how similar counseling is in societies. So this will be our focus, and I crave your indulgence to please pay attention as we proceed. Note that comparative counseling is also known as comparative psychotherapy or comparative psychology. What is the meaning of comparative counseling? Comparative counseling refers to a method of counseling or a style of counseling and psychotherapy in which different therapeutic approaches or counseling techniques are studied in order to evaluate and determine their effectiveness in addressing identified psychological or emotional issues. This means that a counselor who studies comparative counseling is exposed to different psychotherapies and different methods of counseling, so that as he understands how each therapy operates, he or she is able to choose from the many theories we have learned to be able to administer counseling or render services to clients. The goal of comparative counseling is to identify which therapy or approach or a combination of approaches are the best for a particular individual or group problem. So you may find clients coming your way. Client A comes today and you choose a therapy, you administer that counseling and it works. Client B can come tomorrow with the same or similar problem, but it doesn't mean that only that one problem you used theory you used yesterday will be effective. These other clients may need a combination of 2 or 3 theories that will work. Certainly when we are picking theories, we may not pick them in totality to administer counseling. We only select areas and aspects of that therapy that will suit the particular case that a counselor is handling, and then we proceed to administering. So our students should be aware of this, that they are at liberty. This course gives them the liberty to be able to read many materials, as many psychotherapy theories that they come across, that we have available. You can browse to have them, therapeutic approaches, and feel free to use a blend of them or to choose a number of them that you think are suitable. Restrict yourself to those aspects of the therapy that you think you need and are useful in addressing issues that clients bring to counseling. How did comparative counseling come about, if I may ask? A lot of processes were there that brought about comparative counseling in our society. In the early 19th century, we know that a lot of theories were propounded at that time. Theories by Sigmund Freud, many theories came up that psychologists and counselors were using each time they needed to help clients. But as time went on, theories alone were not enough in addressing human issues and problems, especially when it comes to mental health issues. And so by the time we entered the early 20th century, a lot of psychotherapies came up. There was a proliferation. That period, early 20th century, is characterized by a proliferation of psychotherapies, and these are treatment options for mental health issues, emotional issues, psychological issues such as depression, anxiety, and the rest. So many theories, the humanistic theory, the behaviorists, you have the client-centered therapy, all kinds, many theories came up that were very useful in addressing mental health issues. Each of them, you have family therapy, group therapy, individual therapy, many came up during the early 20th century. Each of them has its own way of operation, has its own model of operation. And so by the time we were getting towards the mid-20th century, there was this move that a single theory was not enough or may not be enough in addressing every aspect of a client's problem. And so there was this move for eclectic approach, for the harmonization of 2 or 3 therapies, a combination of the strengths of a theory with the strength of another theory to be able to address issues. This happened during the mid-20th century, and since then it's been said that that was what gave rise to comparative counseling. As time went on and towards the late 20th century, focus began to shift from this harmonization or pulling from the strengths of different theories to be able to administer counseling to the focus on evidence-based counseling practices, where each of these psychotherapies that are being used or each of these therapies that are being administered were subjected to research in order to be able to identify which one yielded best results when it comes to addressing the mental health of clients. And so till this day, evidence-based counseling practice is emphasized. By the time we entered the 20th century, the late 20th century to the early 21st century, the emergence of comparative counseling was no doubt in place. It was at this point, the late 20th century to the early 21st century, this very century we are in, that comparative counseling gained recognition. It has been recognized as, okay, an aspect of counseling that deals with the eclectic approach, or that deals with pulling together, integrating more than two or more theories to be able to provide answers to a particular problem, depending on what a client is presenting. So this period gained recognition on the basis that no single therapy in counseling is universally effective for all individuals that will present in counseling. So this is how comparative counseling came about. Started with theories, and then the proliferation of psychotherapy. Then people began to look at the strength of each theory and to see how they could be harmonized. Then a gradual shift to evidence-based counseling practice based on research, and then the emergence of comparative counseling. This is how comparative counseling came about. We may want to ask, what do we want to achieve by comparative counseling? What are the objectives? We have the following objectives, but they are not limited to these ones, these few that I will mention. First on the list is to ensure that, or to have an individualized treatment. Comparative counseling broadens the mind of a counselor to ensure that anytime a counselor is administering counseling help or treating a client, that such a client is